My opinion about Bobby Trees, I'm going to be unpopular.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the February 22nd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Kistler Law at 661-206-6990 has answers for you. Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990 and check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. Yeah, so news broke today. I was out running around. I'm here a little bit later than I usually am. I usually like to be in the morning. I usually wind up in the afternoon, and I seldom do anything in the early evening because that's when the little green men come out, right? But we got Ram stuff. We got Bobby Tree stuff. We got draft stuff with safeties. And good for me, there is no mea culpa stuff. I did not make a ridiculous faux pas in the last Ram broadcast. And so there's news. Brock Purdy, the San Francisco quarterback, UCL repair surgery didn't happen today. And it's been pushed back for another month. And that's bad for him. Good news for the Rams. Good news because it keeps the 49ers situation in a little bit longer limbo. And still a great team, the 49ers. They just don't have a trigger man. But the real news today is Robert Woods, Bobby Trees. Everyone's all jazzed. I think I got tagged a couple of times on Twitter about people really excited about Bobby Trees coming back to the Rams. And, well, he's not coming back to the Rams. He was released by the Tennessee Titans. You know, he had a couple of touchdowns, 53 catches. But, you know, you're playing for the Titans. It's a King Henry centric, right? And Ryan Tannehill is your quarterback. And then there were games where Tannehill didn't play. And the rookie quarterback, Malik, I forgot Malik's name, the kid out of Liberty played, and he didn't really move the ball very well with his arm. And so it is an interesting thing there. Bobby Trees, Robert Woods released, and everyone's saying bring him home. I like Robert Woods as well as the next guy. And you might want me to move away and so you can talk to the next guy. But the truth is, how much do you have to pay Robert Woods? And the other aspect of it is, what are you going to do with him, right? You got Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, you got Van Jefferson, you got Atwell, you got Brandon Powell, who Atwell fans don't like, Brandon Powell people do like, and Ben Skoranek, he's utility knife, and that's not going to hurt so much. But what are you going to do in terms of Bobby Trees? You want to bring him in, and what are you going to pay him? And do you really want to bring in a guy who's 31 years old? Yeah, he's a year removed from his ACL. They think he's going to have a better year. He's always in great shape, but Robert Woods has mileage on him. Cooper Kupp has mileage on him. You know, Allen Robinson, first time his career went down last year. He has mileage on him. So are you really going to bring in another receiver that has a lot of mileage on him? And then you're not getting him for free. I don't think, and who wants to pay him that? But are you really going to get Robert Woods for one rock or two rocks? I don't want to spend the money on him. Now, if you can get Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson both to do some renegotiating, restructuring. Now, Kupp is in line to do some restructuring, but Allen Robinson, I don't think is, but maybe he needs to. But, of course, if you restructure Allen Robinson, that extends his time with the Rams, and you may need to think about what you're going to do in terms of Robert Woods. You know, somebody's going to go down. We know that. It would be lovely to have Robert Woods. I also heard speculation yesterday is that the Rams should get out from Allen Robinson and bring back OBJ. I don't know. I don't know if there's a back to the future type of situation here where you're going to keep reaching back. And so as much as I like Robert Woods, as much as he's one of my favorite Rams of all time, unless he's willing to come in for one rock and and just be a guy that's there and then is able to step in when we need him, he's a great player. I'd do it, but I don't know where you're going to find the dough for him. And I don't think receivers where we're hurting really bad. And the receiver room was hurt by the offensive line room, which got the quarterback room all banged up. And so we really can't get caught up in thinking that we need a receiver this desperately that we're going to pay any significant money. So that's just something to think about. Actually, I was going to lead today talking about Josh McDaniels and such, but the Robert Woods thing blew everybody out of the water. But I just want to finish with that. The Rams have Kupp, Robinson, Van Jefferson, Atwell, Brandon Powell, Skoranek. We broke this down last week. Van Jefferson is making $1 million this year, right? And what are you going to do with Van Jefferson? And I don't know, 3 receivers who've all had injuries. Even Van Jefferson's had injuries. Someone goes down. Well, what are you going to do? Is you want Van Jefferson to be your number one guy? I know. I'm assuming everyone's going to get hurt, but I just don't like bringing in a 31-year-old receiver for any significant money. If he's going to come in for 1 rock, great. 1.5 rocks, fantastic. Anything more than that in 1 year, I don't think so. I just don't, and I know people aren't going to like it. But getting back to Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you go back to Josh McDaniels, because I wanted to talk some NFL news, Josh McDaniels is in his second tour of duty as an NFL head coach. His first tour began with an established quarterback in Denver named Jay Cutler, and he moved Jay Cutler out, right? Moved him out. And now his second go around, he's also in the AFC West, and he's with the Raiders, and he's already moved out Derek Carr. And we have to ask, for what? What did he move Derek Carr out for? So he can sign Jimmy G? Is Jimmy G again the answer? It's ridiculous. So looking at some recent, well, actually I did. I looked at some recent mock drafts because I like to look at a mock draft every day. And if they're thinking this way, because there are some quarterbacks available, 4 are projected to go in the first round this year. 2 of them, Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, look like solid NFL guys. The jury is out on Will Levis and the out of Kentucky, and there's a significant jury out on Florida quarterback Anthony Richardson. But Anthony Richardson's a specimen, so everyone has him climbing the boards. So when I looked at the mock draft, it had the Raiders taking Will Levis out of Kentucky at number 7. And it makes you curious about, is that what Josh McDaniels wants to hang his hat on? Or Raider fans, are you going to allow them to bring in Jimmy G? Well, what a disaster this is. And so speaking of the mock drafts, the consistent theme of the mock drafts when it comes to quarterbacks is have the Bears, there's all this talk about them moving Justin Fields, but every mock draft I see, even the ones that talk about trades and everything, they have the Bears going defense at number 1. Witherspoon, the cornerback, or Jalen Carter, the D lineman. Not bad, but the Bears have done all their defensive draft picks, right? And it never works out, and they just need to change. But it looks like that's the way they're going to go, that most experts are projecting. Bryce Young is always viewed as going second to Houston. CJ Stroud 4th to the Colts, and Will Levis to the Raiders at number 7. Anthony Richardson is right now, the latest mock draft I saw, is projected to go to Carolina at number 9. That is just a reach for Richardson. And the next quarterbacks to go in the first, first 3 rounds are Tanner McKee out of Stanford, number 41 overall, and Hendon Hooker, Tennessee, at 97 overall. He's projected to go to Washington in the 3rd round. Now, McKee is somebody that's interesting. When I was doing a college football deal for my website, McKee was somebody I saw last year, and not last year, 2 years ago. And this last season, it wasn't a standout year because Stanford wasn't very good. But if the Rams found a way to draft something they really needed at 36 and then use some of their back picks and maybe some sweeteners to move up to where, because I don't think McKee's going to stick around to number 69. I think I'd love to see the Rams take Tanner McKee because he's big, he's super strong-armed, Stanford guy, and he looks like somebody that could be developed over the next 2 years, 3 years with Matthew Stafford. And that's if I only say that because I don't think the Rams are going to be able to convince Baker Mayfield to stay for nothing. And I kind of like Baker Mayfield as a backup. And the issue with Baker Mayfield is someone's going to give him too much money. And I don't think Baker Mayfield, he may not know the best thing for him is to sign a 1-year contract to stay with the Rams, maybe a 2-year deal at minimum salary and just rehabilitate his career. Because I think if he goes someplace else, he's going to struggle. Really, they're talking about him signing in New Orleans. They're who's going to really roll the dice on this guy? And I think he has something to offer, but I think he needs to stay under for a year, maybe 2. And the best bet for him would be do that, serving as the Rams' bridge quarterback. But if Baker Mayfield doesn't see the Rams make a run at Tanner McKee, and that would be kind of a cool deal because he wouldn't have to play right away, because I know the offensive line is not going to be as bad as it was last year. And I don't even know if the offensive line was bad outside of Bobby Evans. The offensive line just got banged up really, really bad. Another guy I like is Hendon Hooker, but he's not going to be available until mid-season to play. He tore his knee up real late in the year, and so he's probably not going to be available. But wanted to get that stuff out before we get to the commercial. And of course, the whole lead thing there was Bobby Trees blowing everything up, Robert Woods being available, and everyone in Ramdon wants this to happen. And I'd like it to happen too, but not at any significant money. Commercial. I am Joe Terosian. I spent 21 years as a sports writer. I now do RamView. I also pastor a small church in Burbank, and you could catch us on all the pretty much all the platforms. We do post this on Instagram, links on Twitter. If you want to follow us, push like, leave a comment, hit the notification button, as we're building our footprint here. We've had some significant growth here at RamView, and we'd love for you to be a part of that as we keep talking Ram football. We're not really fanboy. We will say when the Rams suck, they suck, and we're not going to see a bad game by Matthew Stafford and then just say, hey, start John Wolford, right? We're not going to do that. I also pastor a small church in Burbank, and you can find us on YouTube at burbankfaithvirtual.com, and I write books. You can find my books on Amazon.com. Type in Joe Terosian. I got a couple of good football novels. They did very well. Tangent Dreams and Temple City Company of the Ages. I also write some dystopian Christian fiction, and you can check that out. The most popular one is called Sin Virus. Did we get our commercial in? We got our commercial in. So before Robert Woods became available, and after I broke down a little bit of the quarterbacks in the draft and all that other stuff, and who I'd like to see the Rams maybe lean into a little bit, Tanner McKee. The next section of the defense we wanted to look at was the safeties, and of course, Pro Football Focus is a great site. It's a great site for information, but you got to know how to discern some of that information. I think there's things you see with your eyes, and then there are other things that you have to kind of go with your eyes and then trust the evaluations. I love what they do with offensive lines. I love what they do with stuff along the trenches, with the stuff the average person can't really measure. But when you look at how they grade other people out, sometimes it's just a stat push. And what I mean by a stat push, it has no significant bearing on a game. Taylor Rapp, for example. Taylor Rapp is one of the Rams safeties. PFS had a story that Taylor Rapp needs to be re-signed by the Rams. Taylor Rapp, out of 88 graded safeties in 2022, ranked 13. Do you really think, as a Rams fan, who watched the Rams for 17 games, 18 weeks this year, do you think the Rams are good at safety with Taylor Rapp? Do you want to give Taylor Rapp a second contract when the Rams never give second contracts to safeties? Is Taylor Rapp better than John Johnson or some of these other guys? Now, I know there were salary cap issues then, as there are now, that precluded us from really re-signing John Johnson because there was a market for him. But Taylor Rapp is a decent box safety. And what we mean by box safety is that he can line up in the box. By and large, he's a good tackler. But how many wrong angles did you see Taylor Rapp take this year? Now, he gets to somebody, he wraps them up, he usually finishes them off. but the dude takes the worst angles sometimes. He just takes the worst angles. And he graded the best of his career in coverage, but he is not a good coverage guy. And he's played 2,000 career snaps, and you have 1,500 previous career snaps, and your eyes telling you that he is lousy in coverage. He's lousy. Recently turned 25. He has mileage and very little mystery to his game. There's nothing we're going to find out new about Taylor Rapp. As an unrestricted free agent, however, his market value is 3 years, $30 million, meaning 10 rocks per year. No matter what PFF says, do you really think the Rams are going to give $30 million for 3 years to a safety when they have not extended a safety in the McSnead, or definitely not the Les Snead era? I think that they've franchise tagged LaMarcus Joyner, but do you really think they're going to pay $10 million a year to Taylor Rapp? I just don't see it. I can't see any team paying $10 million a year to Taylor Rapp. Taylor Rapp really should be, if the Rams are serious, should be a goner. Should be. Now, one guy that the Rams fans do have a soft, sentimental spot for is Nick Scott. Nick Scott is an unrestricted free agent. He was picked up in 2019, as recent as 2021, when the bad snap went off his thigh in Indianapolis and was recovered for a touchdown. That was the second game of the season. I remember reading tweets saying he should be released on the spot. Nobody liked Nick Scott. By the end of the year, everyone loved Nick Scott. Nick Scott only graded last year 78 out of 88 safeties, and he's going to be 28 this season. He did not have a good year, right? His pass coverage was abysmal. It actually graded out less than Taylor Rapp's. He hits hard, and Ram fans are going to love him for the hit he put on Deebo Samuel in 2021, one of the best hits you could see in the modern era that wasn't flagged. But his limitations are there. Even his tackling was below average this year, and he's going to be 28. And anything other than dirt cheap, he didn't even make $1 million this year. Anything other than dirt cheap, if he's going to come back and make that same money, great. But do you think now that he's turning 28 and he has anybody out there, and it's not a very big market, if there's anybody out there willing to give him 1.5, 2, 3, 4, I think he's going to take it, right? And so, if he struggled last year in coverage at the age of 27, he's going to be 28. What's he going to be like if you sign him to a 2-year contract at the age of 29? I think the Rams have gotten the best out of Taylor Rapp and Nick Scott. And as much as I like Nick Scott, I think it's time the Rams moved on. And this is why. Jordan Fuller, who was drafted in 2020, very late, 6th round, 7th round, became a starter. And this is why also the Rams drafted Russ Yeast and Quentin Lake in 2022. They knew this day was coming. Terrell Burgess didn't pan out. They gave up on Terrell Burgess real early. He was the number 3 out of Utah. And after his initial playing time in 2020, they gave up on Terrell Burgess. He didn't see the field other than a special teamer. He's going the Robert Rochelle route, and so he's gone. So Jordan Fuller, Russ Yeast, Quentin Lake are the Rams safeties with experience that are still on the roster and not free agents. And Jordan Fuller is interesting. He had a couple interceptions to Tom Brady his rookie year, and it's interesting because he graded out okay, but I didn't think he was very good his second year. And then last year he played 90 snaps. He only played 90 snaps 3 games. After the 49er game up in Frisco, he didn't play again, hamstring. He's 6'2", 203. He's got great size, but and he leapfrogged Terrell Burgess and Nick Scott to get playing time that rookie year, 6th rounder. But you haven't seen much since, and so you have to wonder. Now, here's the other thing about Jordan Fuller. He's making $2.7 million this year, $2.784 million, right? The Rams could release him and save $2.7 million and $42,000, right? They could leave him. They could release him for $2.742. So they'd only have $42,000 in dead cap if they released him. Maybe that's a move the Rams could make if they need to save some dough. Instead of releasing Brian Allen, one of the top 10 safe centers in the league, you can get rid of Tyler Higbee, and that brings you close to 10 rocks closer to the 14 mil that you got to make up in your salary cap deficit. I don't think anyone's going to miss Jordan Fuller. I like him, but we don't know what it's going to look like for him going forward, and you could save some money right now by getting rid of him because he has not been healthy really since his rookie year. And I think we've gotten the best out of him. Russ Yeast got playing time last year, 113 snaps, but he was drafted 254 overall, and he played more than Quentin Lake. Quentin Lake had a camp injury, but Russ Yeast a little undersized, 5'10", 195, a little channeling some Bob Sanders there from the old Colt great. He didn't have a great rookie year, but he had a good one. He was okay for the time he got on the field. His best game was against the Seahawks in Week 18. He's good against the run. He's a decent tackler. And as a rookie, he was lost in coverage sometimes. But as a guy that was drafted at 254 overall, who owns 2 degrees from Kansas State, I think he's a guy that you can get some clicks out of in the secondary. And again, look where the Rams go for their safeties, right? They don't go first round, second round. They go back in the draft, and generally they develop them. So it'll be interesting to see. Quentin Lake was drafted 212 overall out of UCLA. Carnell Lake's son. He's got great pedigree. He didn't see any action really on the field until Week 18, and he played well. But, he played well enough for you to consider him next year. He's 6'1", 201. He can hit, and we're going to find out about the rest. So it would be interesting to see what the Rams do. If the Rams definitely, they're not going to re-sign. I cannot see them re-signing Taylor Rapp, and I can't see them re-signing Nick Scott. And if they look to Jordan Fuller and say, you know what? We could save almost $3 million, 2.7. We could save almost $3 million, 3 rocks by releasing him now. We could take that safety at number 69 that was projected by the Rams to take from Boise State, right? And then have him line up in the secondary with Yeast, have him line up in the secondary with Quentin Lake, and have the Rams build from there. And they'll save themselves a buttload of money. And you're not really losing anything because we haven't seen a whole lot out of Jordan Fuller since then. This is modus operandi for the Rams. This is what they've done in the past. Will it happen? I don't think so. Can something weird happen and they bring somebody back? But man, I just don't see Taylor Rapp coming back. And I don't see Nick Scott coming back. And I see 2.7 that Jordan Fuller's making. And I think, man, we can get rid of that guy. And I think we can go into the season with Lake, Yeast, and then drafting maybe a safety at number 69. And there you go. Then the Rams have their depth. And also the Rams do have the ability with Darian Kendrick, with Kobe Durant, with Jalen Ramsey, and Robert Rochelle. But I think they're done on Robert Rochelle. They have the ability to play guys at corner and free up Jalen Ramsey to do other things. And so we'll see how it plays out. But there's opportunity there for the Rams. There's some nopes on the list there you're going to see. TJ Carter was an undrafted free agent out of TCU. He played 6 snaps. He's 5'11", 193. I don't think he projects. Richard LeCount was a free agent who played poorly with the Browns that the Rams signed in December because everyone was hurt. And so they signed him. He's 5'11", 190 out of Georgia. The Browns drafted him in 2021 at number 170, and then they cut him. He didn't play very well, and they moved on. So that's the look at the safety room, and that's the look where the Rams are at right now in that secondary. We've talked about the corners. We talked about the safeties. We'll take a look at the linebackers. Bobby Wagner, you wonder, is there room for him to renegotiate? And again, I think of him, I think of Ramsey, I think of Donald, I think of these veterans, even Leonard Floyd. Man, they should restructure their contracts because I think if they leave here, they're not going to be as good of an opportunity to win another Super Bowl. And so they should be open to renegotiating or restructuring. I keep using renegotiate. It's restructure their contracts going forward to put more talent in around them. Ernest Jones is developing at linebacker. But the Rams have, the rest of the staff there at the off-ball linebacker isn't anything to scream about. Traven Howard didn't play a down last year. Christian Roseboom. Yeah, there's just not a whole lot there at linebacker. And so we'll see where the Rams go from there. Any other stuff coming up? I'm looking at my notes here. Keep an eye out. Combine is coming up 1st of March. The league official league season starts in March, and that means the Rams will have to be under the salary cap. Also, that's when the compensation picks. The Rams are probably going to have 10 draft picks. The comp picks will be finalized in their slots, generally the second week of March. And then, of course, the draft season continues to build, and it goes from there. And we'll see where we land. Cool. We're at the 26-minute mark. I'm Joe Terozzi. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Kistler Law. That's at KistlerLawFirm.com and TempleCityAutoRepair.com. You can catch us on YouTube. Hit like, subscribe, but also at joeterosian.com. You can catch us at Twitter. You can catch us at Instagram, as well as on Facebook. And if you have a platform on Facebook that you'd like us to share from, we would love to. The previous 2 weeks, we did Mid-Valley Sports and LA Rams of Inglewood. We'd love to go back to them and maybe go to some new sites as the offseason trudges on. And we will be back very soon, hopefully on Friday, given hopefully they're talking snow in LA. Maybe. It's already 45 degrees here tonight, and I'm dressed for it, and we're ready to go. Thank you so much for clicking on. I'm Joe Terosian. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.